Well, hey there, YouTube. This video is not going to be very popular simply because I'm talking about the Roland VG8. This is an older, came out 1996, I believe, and ran till 1999, maybe 1998, 99. They had three versions: firmware 1, which was 18-bit. Then there was an S update, S1, I think it was called, and then the EX. So if you have an incredible amount of patches, you have the EX, and usually the EX there's a sticker, a gaudy gold sticker, if it's expanded. And specifically in this video, what I'm going to do is take a look at a couple of the, specifically one of the videos that I found on YouTube where there's comments. There seems to be people going back and forth about this and a lot of curiosity about it. And I wanted to bring it up because on this channel I'm talking about this thing with the community, online guitar player syndrome, where you're supposed to hate on digital and elevate analog and tube. And I made two like 20-minute videos talking about that yesterday. I don't want to go down that road in this video. I want to be more positive and talk about what I like about the VG8. So first off, this came out at a time where I was really a fan of Roland. And like I had gone to see, I forget what his name was. Do you remember what that guy's name was that did the product demo that we went and saw? He did.
I don't know.
It wasn't Scott B. Summers.
I don't know.
He demoed the first of the GT processors, and he did a one-note solo on a whammy where he just played one note and then he pitched it all. And he was good. This guy did a really entertaining demo, and that Cosm, it was the first modeler, and my jaw hit the floor because this particular unit didn't use a hexaphonic pickup or a GK2 as they're known. GK2A. Do they have the GK3 now? And what that is, it's a plastic rectangular box that you screw onto the guitar with a switch on it, and it's got a slot for a cable you plug in, a thick cable, and that's your guitar cable. This goes to the actual virtual guitar processor or synth. And on the output of this plastic GK2, there's another cable that comes around to a hexaphonic pickup, which is a little thin pencil. It's about as wide as a pencil pickup with two mounting holes. So you put that in between your bridge and your bridge pickup in that slot there, and then you drill a couple of holes and run some screws into it. Or they give you double-sided tape. You can actually double-side tape your GK2, that's what I did. I got a 1992 American Standard Strat, and I used those pads. I cleaned it with alcohol, and when I pulled it off, it ripped the paint off of the guitar. So my Strat has 3 chunks of paint missing that I later went and painted a darker color in there to make it less obvious. I really should have gotten some blue and mixed the paint because it doesn't look very good. It ruined the finish on that guitar, and I'm not really the road worn, that whole, like, what do they call it, relic. That's not really. I'd rather have my stuff look nice, like I took care of it, Anyway, I was excited about this technology, and it came out after the GT3, was it, that I saw demoed, or GT5 maybe? I'm not sure what we saw demoed, but it was $3,000. And what it is, it's Roland's flagship, so it looks like a stealth fighter is what it looks like. Let's go over and take a look at exactly what it looks like. Roland VG8. And that's the VG8. And it's big. It's you look at these and you figure, your foot, it's big. It's big and it's heavy. And there's a lot going on as far as the back. Memory card, expression pedal, external switch, and then here's the GK in, and that's that cable I was talking about. So the main issue that you run into with any of this Roland virtual guitar or guitar synth stuff is there's that one thing. You have to buy the GK2, which is $200. Then you have this real thick, heavy cable that's different. When you're playing the guitar with a VG and you have that cable, it's like something's pulling. It's just like you're not as free to move around. It's an encumbersome method. What they have now is something called the Fishman triple play, which is it's a device that plugs into your input jack of your guitar. It's a big dongle, like a little box with a battery, and that wirelessly transmits all that information to a dongle that you plug into a laptop. And then you use software and you can MIDI out. So that's really a great way to do it. We've come quite far away with that technology. But for today, I'm talking about what I really like about this system, and I got to say, that's the downside. The downside is you got to drill holes in your guitar, you got to mount this stupid plastic thing. Nobody liked that GK2. Now, they do sell, Fender makes a guitar with that pickup built in on it, and they have like Godin. There's some acoustic guitar brands that have it built in. For a while, you could get a Parker guitar that had the MIDI. Now, they were $15,000. That's the Adrian Belew signature model. And that has a built-in Line 6 Variax built into the guitar. So that kind of defeats the purpose of having a modeler. But these VG8s are, you can find them on eBay. There's one up there right now for $99 free shipping, and it has a error on the display where it makes it more difficult to read. My VG8 has that problem. I got a call from my pal Jimmy Photon, who has a YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed there, you should. It's entertaining and he's brilliant. But he lives in Connecticut. And he said, how would you like a VG8? So I said, I would love a VG8. And since I received that from him, I said I felt guilty about getting this thing for free because I knew about it from when it came out, and like Robert Fripp had it, and he still uses it. Vernon Reed still uses it. So I'm like, I know this thing is incredible what it does, and it probably, even though it's from originally 1996 or 1999, whatever, it still probably does have some excellent sounds in it. And I'm here to tell you that that's a reality. The downside is what I said. You got to deal with the GK2. You got that big honking cable. It's a huge thing on its own. It's big. And you have to say goodbye to all your favorite pedals, So it's a massive investment. It really is. You're just kind of changing everything. And mind you, you very well could go out of the VG8 into your own pedal board. You could eliminate the amp and speaker cabinet modeling and just use it for pickup modeling and guitar body modeling, because that's what the VG8 does. It models what pickups, the sound of, like, you can change a your guitar pickups are not being used at all. You have this synth pickup, or actually hexaphonic pickup, and that's the audio source. Okay, there's a plug, a cable, short cable, that converts from 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch mono and plugs back into that GK2. So the master switch on the GK2, in the center, you can get a blend between your guitar pickups and the VG system. Or you go all the way in the back, click it over, this top 3-way toggle. And all the way in the back is just the VG system. In the middle is VG mixed with your guitar pickups, and all the way to the front is just your guitar pickup. So you could very well, but I mean, who's going to... Do you have the room to have a giant, a flagship stealth-looking, bomber-looking thing, and then another pedal board next to it? That's up to you. And I'm sure there are people that did. Professionals would do that. But for me, the way that I like to really utilize the system is for recording. And I don't mix and match it with pedals. I'll come out of it and maybe go into... I have the Moore Ocean machine, which is a double echo box and reverb. So there's 2 delays that you can configure and a reverb, and it's stereo, and it sounds really good. Getting back to where I was going with this, being the downfall, the downside of the VG8. Because it came out in 1996 and it's a modeling device, it models everything that existed from 1996 back to the 60s. There is no dual rectifier or modern high gain amplification modeling. There is some custom patches. People made a Soldano patch, people made a Metallica patch, and it does do that to some extent, but it doesn't do it very well. I gotta say, this is for modeling. If you draw a line in the sand at 1996 and go back and think, well, what would that really be? There isn't so much a lot of Dumbles, but there is Fender, Vox, Marshall, this type of stuff. And it does all that very well, as well as being able to model pickups, model the guitar's body, and then the tunings. One of the things where this device, for me, where it shines, is 12-string. I had a 12-string guitar here, an Epiphone, a beautiful acoustic 12-string, and it had a good neck on it, but the headstock was cracked. And eventually that guitar, it's no longer with us. So one of the things that the point of contention, let's hop over to our comment section on this YouTube video. The main thing is confusion on this, that it's a synth. Okay, like here they say synths have come a long way, but it's still very interesting to listen to how it sounds from string to speaker in the VG8. And this, as well as a few other videos on the internet that are less than 5 years old, feature the sounds. So I'm not going to be plugging in and playing the sounds for you. Instead of, if you're curious about the sounds, I would direct you towards my Semantical Nightmare album, because that's what I use to record all of the guitars. So, I have the VG8ex, which has more patch banks, and the VO guitar. Now, the VO guitar is what's considered to be the most expressive guitar effects processor ever invented. And there's a handful of these patches, and they're only on the EX boards. Roland stopped doing it. And they're just incredible. There's a guy called Ebotronics, and he's done demos where he had a VG8 system and he recorded songs using the VO patches. And they don't sound like any traditional instrument. Like the attack of it will sound like a string, and then it will kind of sound like a synth. There's a real lot of harmonics. They tend to sound flute-like or string-like or guitar-like. There's all different VO patches, and there's only like maybe 8 or 10 of them, and they're incredible. They're really, really cool and super expressive. Like, depending on how you play the guitar, that gets translated into what the sound does. So it's super cool. It's super cool, and this is where the VG8 is head and shoulders above a synth. Because I had the GR50 and I have a GR1, and I know what they do. And number one, the main thing is the lack of latency. Now this is where it gets nitpicky, because the VG8 is not latency free. It's just a whole hell of a lot faster than an actual pitch to voltage MIDI synth. So let's take a look at some more of these comments here. If your VG8 has 2 preset groups, A and B, you have an original VG8. If it has 4 preset groups, A, B, C, and D, you have a VG8 with the S1 upgrade card. And this is something that you would buy and install internally. And if you have 5 preset groups, A, B, C, D, and E, you have a VG8ex. And I believe that has something to do with maybe utilizing a memory card, or it's an internal memory expansion. So I guess Sting used it on a song called 1,000 Years. D50 Breath. So that's like a chuff or a glass synth voice, probably, I'm guessing. This guy says this was not so much a guitar synth, but a virtual guitar system, as indicated by VG Virtual Guitar. It's mostly to emulate a wide variety of guitars, amplifiers, and effects. It's the true guitar synths that mimic other instruments other than guitars, like piano, strings, bass, etc., brass, etc., are the Roland GR series of synthesizers. He has a guitar synth, and he also has a VG8 that he got around 89 or 98 to 99. The thing to remember is it uses the Roland GK13 pin to connect the guitar or bass to them. He has a Godin that has the GK built in, and he recommends that. The GK can be installed on any guitar for $200. Supposedly the newest Roland GR55 combines the features of the GR and the VG. Now, I'm not aware of that. From what I understand, the VG series are not guitar synths, but very high-tech processors with some more synth-like patches. I have the VG8ex, and it's not a synth. And I have to agree with RK Lewis, RK Lewis. He's correct. It's not a guitar synth, but there are synth patches, and that's where it shines. Is, for me, it doesn't just model guitar sounds. There's horns, there's French horns, there's trumpets, there's flutes, there's stuff that sounds like synths, and bass stuff, and banjo, and 12-string, and then goofy synth-like super effect stuff. And one of the perks is there's no MIDI translator or pitch to voltage, pure DSP distilled from the analog strings, no latency, and that's where he's incorrect. There is latency because it needs to detect the pitch. Ideally, that takes half a wavelength, and therefore it's more in the deeper registers because those wavelengths are larger. The VG8 is not a guitar synth. It has a couple of synth-like, If you take a look, and depending on what you install on it, there's more than a couple synth-like patches, trust me. But it's meant to be a method of building a guitar shape from the ground up. And yes, yes, he is correct. Me, in my case, what I did when I heard I was going to be receiving this, I went on eBay and I saw they have a patch collection. I purchased it. It was like $11 for the CDR that has all these patches, pretty much all of them that people have made and uploaded. So I hooked it up via MIDI. I went through Audition those patches, and then I went through what was on it, and I made lists, and I deleted all the stuff I didn't like, and I replaced those with patches I did like. So anything weird or oddball that wasn't necessarily guitar based is on mine. Mine is set up for that. It's not set up to model guitars so much. Although there is so many, with it being an EX, there's enough room on there. There's a ridiculous amount of patches. To go through them all takes like 45 minutes. It's the most patches out of any unit I've ever had. So for me, I do my recording and I will track the regular guitars and the bass. And then I will, if I'm going to do some specialty synth stuff, I'll do that. Then I go ahead and hook up the VG, and I start with a 12 string and I pan that. Then I do another 12 string and pan it. And then I start adding additional guitars. Tele sounds, 355 sounds, Les Paul sounds, and then the goofy rubber band sounds and synth stuff and VO patches. And what you end up with is a massively dense recording. So if you're interested in what that sounds like, I did an album in January which is called Semantical Nightmare, and I'm proud of it, and it wouldn't sound anything what it sounds like without that Roland VG8. So I gotta say, this is a high-tech, incredible device. It's all over all of my last recordings. Since I received it, I felt guilty about getting this thing and having it sit here because I knew I wouldn't integrate it into my live setup because my live setup is run on batteries. So I'm thinking the only way I'm going to get use out of this is if I force myself to record. And I'll do that in January. Every year I'll do an album, and that's what I'm doing. And I've come to just really love the VG8 and its sounds. It's very crisp, and there's nothing to it. I plug the guitar in, I tune it, and mine has this issue where, like, there's one that's for sale now for $99, and it says there that you can't read the display. Well, the display, it functions, but there's a line in between all the lettering, which there's a line in the lettering. It's not the best, it's not ideal, but I can still read mine, you know. And I was concerned when I heard I was getting it. I went up real high. Holy cow, I'm getting this thing that I've known about, $3,000 thing that, you know, kind of came and went like a fad, and now I'm getting one, and I couldn't believe it. And then I heard the display was fucked up, and I was like, oh, no wonder I'm not going to be able to figure out what patch I'm on. But really, it really wasn't a problem for me. So somebody out there, you need to go on eBay, especially if you already have a VG8, and push the button and buy a VG8. If you're the type of person who records, I mean, this is as much as a nice guitar pedal, $100 for the VG8. So even if you don't have the GK2, if you can afford to get one, this is the thing. With that GK2, in my opinion, the best thing that Roland ever made that uses that is the VG8. I've played the VG99 and I own a VG88. Okay? I played the VG99 for an hour in Guitar Center and I was impressed, but from what I remember, it's very similar to the VG8 minus the VO stuff, which to me is the coolest stuff. So you can check out Ebotronics, his YouTube page has those VO. He's written these songs using them. You should check that out if you're really going to do a deep dive on the VG8. I mean, I love my Zoom G1 and my Zoom G3. They share the same effects and amp sims. I love those Zoom models. They're great. I recently got a new XMG300 and I really like that quite a bit. It's 32-bit and the sound quality of that is even better. The amp models are more realistic, and man, that thing, it just sounds phenomenal. So I like amp modeling and I like this sort of thing. I appreciate tube and analog gear as well, and it has its place. And I love Roland JC amplifiers. I really love those amps. And I think moving forward in the future, as time goes, we're going to see more and better of this same type of thing. And eventually, maybe it can catch on. But I think there's a huge amount of people who are using it. People who grew up on computers and they just can't afford to get a boutique tube amp. So there's a lot of people who are using this stuff who aren't really allowed to brag about it. Because when you go online, if you brag about your gear, you better have some, 59 gold top or a Dumble or whatever Fender Champ tube amp, whatever it is, but not something digital. So it's not in vogue, it's not popular, but I got to tell you, I'm rapidly developing a better relationship with this VG8. And like after using it for a couple of albums, I was using both. I trade them off. And then I started realizing that the VG8 was far superior to the 88. And this last album, after recording halfway through it, I set the VG88 up and I went through it for an hour and I put it right back down and didn't use it. So there's something magical about the VG8, and I'm not saying it can do everything. I mean, they kind of build it like that, and it can't. And some things it does better than others. And it, to me, it's ironic to, like, here I am with a Strat, putting a Strat patch on, but man, that Strat patch, it sounds more Strat-like than my Strat. It's a Fernandez Strat, and it's a good one. It's a good Strat copy. It's not like a Squire. It's it's right up there with my American Standard Strat, but some difference in the neck a little bit, and I mean that's a Fender American Standard Strat. So this is like a Swiss Army knife for recording. I don't recommend it for live use. It doesn't mate well with pedals, or you could hook it up. The issue is you have to use that GK. So anything you're going to hook up to it is ideally going to go after it. But that's my pep talk on the Roland VG8. I just love it. I love hearing it. Like when I've recorded with it, there it is. It's just exactly what I needed. These beautiful French horn sounds and goofy synth textures. So that whole thing of it's not a synth. Well, yeah, technically it isn't, but it does stuff that a synth wishes it could do without the elephant in the room of that lag. And there is a little bit, but it's minute, trust me. And I'm not down with lag. I know, believe me, I know about lag, being a digital guy, and there was years where this stuff was coming out, and I would try it, but I was unable to play it because it just had this feel, wasn't right for me. Anyway, I wanted to talk about that and to tell you guys when I'm always on and on about digital. That's why I've got something really unique that most people don't know about, and if you tried it, you'd understand in a hurry. I'd encourage you to look into it because I'm not the only one. There's a club of people that own these things that they love them. So it's a really neato thing, and I'm so super lucky and blessed to have one, which all of that goes back to my pal Jimmy Photon, so thank you. And take care of yourselves, be safe. I'll talk to you soon, and peace.